Back in 2008, Saints Row 2 made an absolute killing in terms of sales and reviews, and it's not hard to see why. If you haven't seen my video about Saints Row 2, I go into detail about how impactful the game was to not only me, but to everyone else who played it. It didn't just become another great open world game, it became a legendary staple to the genre. Not even Grand Theft Auto 4 was able to reach that same momentum for some people, and that game came out around the same time, and was met with higher reviews and sales. I pretty much called Saints Row 2 the pinnacle definition of a perfect open world game, and knowing the amount of success the game had, it was pretty clear knowledge that a third game in this legendary series would follow suit. A game that would lead to a major detachment for the entire Saints Row fanbase, even to this very day, and would cause a massive amount of debates and arguments. As for me, I knew without a doubt that this game wasn't going to be as good as Saints Row 2, but I was not expecting something else. Ladies and gentlemen, saints and sinners, join me as we enter the streets of the new city of Steelport, and let's take a look at Saints Row the Third. March 31st, 2011. A day that would go down in history. Being on YouTube the majority of the time, I was busy browsing the site one day, just minding my own business, watching MLP videos because that's what every normal sane person would do around that time. Until I see this. A debut trailer for Saints Row the Third. When I saw that title, I instantly froze up. My excitement skyrocketed into the reach of outer space. And when I saw that video, I instantly clicked on it. And then, I was greeted by this. This trailer alone pretty much highlighted what exactly Saints Row the Third was going to be. While Saints Row 2's trailers were a lot more serious, dark, and had a hardcore gangster feeling to it, if you want to count Gary Busey as a hardcore gangster anyway, Saints Row the Third's marketing and trailers mostly focus on the sillier side of things for the most part. Well, except for one trailer, the legendary Power trailer that was shown off a few months later at E3. A full-blown CGI trailer that just pretty much showcased what we were going to expect in the game. We got this guy over here smoking a cigarette who proceeds to enter a penthouse with two luscious women by his side and stabs the security guard straight in the stomach. As we make our way inside the penthouse though, we see the Saints throwing a massive party. We see Pearson, Johnny, and Ashton Kutcher. What exactly is going on here? Well, the Third Street Saints are no longer just a dangerous street gang from Stillwater. Instead, now they're pop culture icons, celebrities with their own brand of merchandise and TV shows. I bring this trailer up not only because it's famously well known in the Saints Row community, but because of how this trailer completely hyped everyone up for this game. It's literally the most viewed video on the Saints Row YouTube page alone. This trailer brought Saints Row the Third to the mainstream audience, and it worked. The marketing for this game was massive, having the game selling over 4 million copies worldwide a few months after launch, ranging from official gameplay footage to even a mock on Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3's trailers. And if you thought Gary Busey promoting Saints Row 2 was bizarre, wait till you see the Tim and Eric video they made for the game. It's as insane as the game itself, but also awesome. I love Tim and Eric.
Come unto us and allow us to show our love.
Saints Row the Third was a successful game in terms of sales and also in critical reception. However, there was also one major drawback for all of this. While the game was even more successful in sales and reception-wise, the game did lead to divisive opinions for the fanbase. Now, this might sound ridiculous, since Saints Row the Third currently sits on an overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, but the old-school fans of the series claim that they had been betrayed, or something like that, I don't know. They felt like the game was trying to appeal to a more casual crowd, and leaning towards a more reachable audience completely ruined the series, since the franchise was doing wacky, insane, and ludicrous things. Now, I stated in my Saints Row 2 video that they kinda did the same thing with that game, but they didn't go overboard with it. But it was with Saints Row the Third when the series really started to get wacky. And for some, it was for the better, and for others, it was for the worse. Development for Saints Row the Third began shortly after the release of Saints Row 2. The original idea for Saints Row 3, as it was called back then, was to focus on an undercover agent that was infiltrating the Saints. This, however, was soon dropped, and Volition came up with a bold new direction. That direction would be taking the series in the loudest, wackiest, over-the-top way possible. They even made a tone video that consisted of videos from movies like Hot Fuzz, Bad Boys 2, and Shoot 'Em Up, while using the song Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. They decided to make everything in the game as over-the-top as possible, as they wanted to distinguish not only GTA, but every other game that was released around that same time. This would then later be showcased when the game was announced in March of 2011, when we got the trailer of the boss punching a luchador wrestler below the belt. And as the year went on, the more of the game was being shown off, and became this self-inflicted cartoony game that would be entirely different than the past two games. You see, the past two games were pretty serious, with moments like characters dying left and right, or intense set pieces that heavily affected the story. Saints Row 3, while still kind of serious at times, is nothing like the past two games. It was pretty clear knowledge that this is what Volition wanted to take the series to. And to make matters worse, producer Greg Donovan considered SR3 to be somewhat of a reboot of the entire series. Well, that is until the actual reboot happened anyway. Which is why we don't really get any actual continuations from the past games. We don't get a follow-up on what happened to Dex, at least not for now anyway, nor do we see some of the old characters like Donnie and Troy. In a way, SR3 was doing something brand new, and while I understand that from a business perspective, it also seemed like a bit of a slap in the face to many fans of the first two games. Now, please don't take this video as a kind of betrayal to the series or anything that others have said about this game. I don't want this video to come off like I have a massive hate boner to this game or anything. I mean, God forbid it gets enough of that already. Because in a way, Saints Row the Third is still a damn good game to play. It's a game that I still enjoy playing from time to time, and I can't lie and say that I did have a good time with it. But it also has its faults, and not minor faults or anything that I can kind of ignore, but major problems that do hinder the game a little bit. So I'm going to try my best to be as fair as possible to this game. As with the other videos, there will be spoilers ahead for the game, so if you haven't played SR3 yet, I strongly recommend you stop watching this video and play the game for yourself. If you have, then feel free to keep on watching, I guess. So, after the events of Saints Row 2 and conquering Stillwater, the 3rd Street Saints have finally reached the top of becoming a household branding name. The Saints are now pop culture icons, leaving the gangster life behind and focusing more on making movies and TV shows, alongside with their own brand of products. Now, I know a lot of people are probably typing their way into the comments section right now, about to lose their minds about how this is terrible writing and how they bastardized the Saints and all of that, but I'm just going to stop you right there for a second. One, can you at least watch the whole video first before you comment, please? That would be grateful. And two, true, the fact that the Saints went from being gangbangers to celebrities might sound ridiculous as hell, but it's also not that far off from the real world of things. For example, famous rapper 50 Cent. He originally started life doing crime, selling drugs and narcotics to people at the age of 12. He also brought drugs and guns to his school as well, and got arrested for selling cocaine in 1984. However, as he turned his life around, he pretty much became a full-on celebrity and a pop culture icon, releasing an album in 2003 that sold 872,000 copies worldwide, and eventually turning him into a celebrity. Now, I know that might seem far-fetched for what I'm trying to say, but in a way, I can kind of understand why Volition changed the Saints from being gangbangers to celebrities. It felt like a parody of those people that originally had a somewhat of a gangster lifestyle before being transformed into a pop culture icon. And it worked. Wanting to not continue with the same tiring story and themes, Volition had no other option but to do this. And that, everyone, is the only positive thing I can say about this story. We open with the 3rd Street Saints currently working on a Saints movie starring Johnny Gad, Shondi, and Michael Kelso from That 70s Show. Okay, for real, this guy's named Josh Burke. I just wanted to make a That 70s Show reference because that's what everyone does here on YouTube, right? Actually, now that I think about it, I could have made a That 70s Show or Family Guy reference in my Saints from 1 video. Oops. The gang are currently filming for their own Saints movie while also robbing a bank, but find out things get worse when the bank tellers start fighting back, causing a massive shootout. Off topic, but how the hell are they filming a Saints movie without any cameras or crews around? Maybe they're recording through the gat masks? I don't know. It was going well until the Saints found out that they were robbing more than just an ordinary bank. They were robbing a bank owned by a dangerous gang called the Morning Star. After that failed attempt, the Saints get arrested with Gat asking you and Shondi, what has happened to the Saints? Why did they leave that gang life in order to become celebrities and pop culture icons? I always think back to that mission in Saints Row 2 where Julius told a boss that all they did was turn into the Vice Kings that wore purple. And he's not wrong. Well, now it seems to be the case even more, since originally, the Vice Kings were a dangerous street gang before making a profit off of fame, success, and connections. And the 3rd Street Saints were doing the same thing. True, they were wealthier than the VKs, but they still had many similarities between each other. And Gat himself was wondering what happened to that old life that they wanted. Why was it always about the money? All of those questions and more, that never get brought up again. Instead, the Saints get taken hostage by a group called the Morningstar that's been run by this man, Philippe Loren. He decides to strike a deal with the Saints in exchange for their monthly revenue that the Saints made with Ultor. However, Philippe should have learned something from Marrow and the Brotherhood, as the Saints declined the deal, almost leading to them getting killed. Johnny, however, fights back and tells both you and Shawnee to get out of the plane, with Johnny sacrificing himself. Once you make it near the tail end of the plane, Shawnee informs that both you and her are about to jump when...
Johnny, we're about to jump!
Right on. I'll see you in Steelport.
Johnny?
Yes, that's right. Johnny dies in the process. What's worse is that one of, if not the most iconic character in the series, gets killed off screen, by the way, is tragic and, dare I say, depressing. However, there was no time to mourn, as you and Shawnee jumped out of the plane with a bunch of random shit falling from the sky. We do get a badass moment where you shoot the Morningstar out of the sky while trying to catch Shawnee. When you do catch her, twice actually, you finally land into the brand new city. A city that is well known for its crimes and gang territory. A city called Steelport. Now, we know I'll be jumping the gun a bit here because normally I would save my thoughts on Steelport halfway through the video, but this is something I need to address now since it plays an important factor into the story, for better or for worse. Steelport is not that great of a city to explore in. I've probably been a bit too harsh on the city, since in terms of design, the city itself isn't bad. We have some unique districts like the Red Light, the downtown, and the airport districts and such, but the characteristics of the city just aren't there. Yeah, we have people walking down the streets and all that kind of stuff, but nothing major or something that will have you stop and observe. As the Saints land into Steelport, they start to get accustomed to the new city, but lose everything. The Saints, however, wants to do things their own way and come up with ideas to take out the Syndicate. They first crash a party that's being hosted by the Morningstar and gain control of their penthouse. And after the mission, we're also introduced to 2 other gang leaders. Kilbane, leader of the Luchadors, and Matt Miller, the leader of the Deckers. Unlike in the past games, these gangs are working with each other as opposed to against, and are part of one big organization called the Syndicate. They decided to work with each other and strike a deal with how each of their businesses can be run. I'll get into my thoughts about this later on, though. The next line of action was to take out the Morningstar's gun shop called Powder, which is this game's interpretation of a stronghold. Strongholds are now a part of the main story missions. But don't worry, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Then we have one more epic fight with Philippe. We storm into the Syndicate Tower, meet a giant naked brute strapped into whatever the hell those things are, bust him out, and have one final showdown with Philippe, which results in... So just to clarify something, we are only a couple of hours into the game, and we already took out the leader of not only a gang, but also a crime organization. Let me rephrase that. We are literally a couple of hours into the game, and we already took out the leader of a crime organization. So what's next? Who decides to lead the Syndicate? Well, after a disturbance on Johnny's funeral in Stillwater, the Saints decided to take the fight to the Syndicate again by recruiting 3 new lieutenants. Zemos, Kinsey Kensington, and Angel de la Muerte. After you recruit them, the boss gives the usual speech to the Saints, you know, the whole Steelport will be ours and we have some people who can help us stuff, ending with the iconic, this is our time now, let's get this shit started. While the Syndicate decided to make Kilbane, the man who attacked the Saints at Johnny's funeral, their new leader.
Viola and Kiki were Mr. Loren's right hands.
Now, normally in traditional Saints Row fashion, this would be the point in the video where I branch off into different paths and choose to pick which gang I want to take out first, and discuss each gang's storyline. But there's one problem with that. One tiny little problem. The game doesn't do that. I mean, considering due to the fact that we took out the leader of the Morningstar and the Syndicate altogether, Saints Row III does things differently by having a linear story progression. Despite the numerous missions that you can choose from at the start, all of them follow a one-way linear plot. It's a lot more like GTA than it is the traditional Saints Row approach, which sucks because the game is doing the exact same thing they don't want to do that the GTA games already did. But that's not even the worst part about this. So before I go ahead and press on, you probably remember back when I defended Saints Row 1 and Saints Row 2's approach to activities and gaining respect. But for those who don't or haven't seen my video on them, let me explain. So in Saints Row 1 and 2, the only way you were able to progress through the game's story was by gaining respect. And the only way you had to gain respect was to do activities, diversions, and other stuff in the game. Many people called it a lazy way to pad the game, and don't get me wrong, you're sort of correct on that, but it didn't really affect me all that much since most of the activities themselves were fun to play. It encouraged me to want to finish them because of how damn good they were, even if some of them did get kind of tedious at points. Plus, it also served as a way for players to replay the game constantly because of it. With so much stuff to do in the games, how could you ignore all of what the game offers? This all changed in Saints Row the Third for two reasons. 1. The respect meter. In Saints Row 1 and 2, respect was used as a progression to the main story. If you had enough respect, you were able to continue on through the game with no problem. And plus, they were easier to get the more you play. In Saints Row the Third, however, respect was now used as a way to level up your character. It's a ranking system now. Getting them is still the same as ever. You can complete activities, do diversions and stunts in the game, and now beating story missions. And when you rank up, you can upgrade your character with abilities that you unlock the more you rank up. I'll go into more details about this later, but gathering respect in the game feels different now since SR3 is more or less like a pseudo-RPG, if you will. Number 2, the game forces you into playing these activities to progress through the main story. Now hold on! Let me explain. I know this might sound like I'm shooting myself in the foot over this argument, and even though I praise Saints Row 1 and 2 for doing this, but just allow me to say something about this really quick. Yes, in Saints Row 1 and 2, you did have to play activities to gain respect and use the respect you got to progress through the game's story. But as stated before, respect is now used as an RPG mechanic. So the only course of action the devs did to fix this issue was by having a specific activity, not any activity, a specific activity, be part of the main story mission. And it's not like you can freely choose whatever activity you wanted to do first like in the past games. You can choose to do mayhem first, or insurance fraud, or even drug trafficking if you like. Those games just gave you that freedom to choose what you want to do first. And after you do an activity or two, you can continue on with the story and take a break and do some more activities, rinse and repeat. But in Saints Row the Third, they're literally locking these behind story missions, and you have to play all of them at least once to unlock them and continue to the main story. Once you complete an instance of them, more of them are unlocked, which is kind of dumb because you were able to play all activities from the get-go from the first two games. So why exactly did they need to do this? I have no idea. The activities themselves are fine. Most of them are returning from the past two games, stuff like mayhem, insurance fraud, trailblazing, escort, all that kind of stuff. But now they added in a different variety of these activities. You can trailblaze in real life or trailblaze inside a computer simulation. You can cause mayhem with weapons or cause mayhem in a tank. You can escort hoes or escort a tiger. Goddamn, what is this game? They're mostly the same as how they were before. I mean, they're okay for the most part. They're pretty mixed on some of them, but for some reason, they got rid of some of the best activities from 2. Fight Club, Crowd Control, Septic Adventure, Fuzz, all of them are gone. Like, come on, man. I loved Septic Adventure. Spraying feces at people. It was fun, okay? It was fun! After you get all 3 of your lieutenants, not that there would be any reason to have them anyway, we come up with strategies to take out all 3 gangs and take control of Steelport. The Morningstar is in charge of prostitution and human trafficking. Alright, I forgot to mention, even though you kill Philippe Loren, the Morningstar is still a thing. So then why did we kill him off earlier? And you know, I forget it. The Deckers handle money laundering and cybercrimes, and the Luchadors handle steroid dealing and gambling. Now, in typical Saints Row fare, the Saints sabotage all of their plans with the help of their lieutenants. Zemos is in charge of the Morningstar, Kenzie's in charge of the Deckers, and Angel is in charge of the Luchadors. Despite my opinion on the story, I do like the lieutenants in this game, although they don't light a candle compared to the original Saints. I think they do a fine enough job helping the Saints as much as they can to get rid of the gangs. The only problem I have is that we don't get to see them more often in the game. Zemos is pretty much forgotten after you get rid of the Morningstar, and Angel doesn't come back at all after this game. Kenzie is pretty much the only character who does get a bit more screen time as the game goes on, but that's about it. Most of the focus placed into the boss, Pierce, and Shaundi, alongside with Viola, who joins the Saints after Killbane straight up snaps her sister Kiki's neck. Not that the characters themselves are bad, but some of the changes for these characters might come off as out of nowhere, like Randy Orton delivering an RKO. Shaundi had a complete 180-degree turn, going from being a hippie who loves to have fun and play hacky sack, to now being clean and knowing when to take a job seriously since, the Saints are celebrities now. She even gets really pissed after Johnny's death, and yeah, it seems confusing, but it later grows her as a character. The boss is another character with a major personality change. After many complaints about the boss's attitude in Saints Row 2, Volition decided to make the boss more lighthearted, which I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, yeah, they were angry all the time in Saints Row 2, but if I found out I was betrayed by the founder of the Saints, almost got killed in a boat explosion, found out the gang split up and tried to find the son of a bitch who did all this, yeah, I'd be pissed too, gotta be honest. I can't believe I did that in one take. Holy crap. But obviously, we can't just let this whole thing be gang warfare. No. We gotta throw in something more unique. Another organization. This time trying to end gang violence. Maybe a spiritual successor to Ultor? What do we have in between this whole gang warfare? Play the intro.
What is that?
Nothing good. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet Stag, aka the worst group of enemies in the entire series. And that's saying a lot. I'm just gonna say this right now. Stag is a joke. They show up into the game near the halfway point with no build-up at all whatsoever, maybe like a cutscene of Monica Hughes talking about them, and they just show up like DMX trashing a Sum 41 music video. God rest DMX's soul. I like their idea on paper, but their execution was severely lacking. They don't do anything. All they do is just set up base at Steelport to try to stop the Saints and the Syndicate from tearing Steelport apart, but that's about it. There's a mission where you do get some cool weapons like an airstrike carrier, that's pretty awesome, but then you get zombies, and I hate zombies in this game. I'm not gonna waste my breath on this one for far too long, but what does this have anything to do with the main story? Okay, now let me lighten things up a little bit here. If there is another positive thing I do like about the story is the creativity the missions have. I love the mission where you fight off against Matt Miller inside of cyberspace, fighting off against his dragon avatar by copying his very own, and just going to town at the kid after all the trouble he caused you. Or Murder Brawl 31, a mission entirely focused on professional wrestling. Doing Hurricane Ranas and all of that pro wrestling stuff is super cool. As someone who is a huge fan of wrestling, I absolutely love this mission. Oh, and the mission where we disguise ourselves as Cyrus Temple, the leader of Stag, to break Shaundi out after being kidnapped. What's interesting is, depending on the voice of your character, the dialogue is different when disguised as Temple, rather than just using that same audio for that whole mission. Especially if you have the zombie voice and Cyrus just starts making zombie noises, it's so funny. I mean, they didn't really need to go that far into the level of detail for that mission, but hey, it's appreciated. I mean, yeah, it's dumb, wacky, and stupid, and I get that's what people don't like about it, but if I can be honest, the wackiness is probably the best part of the game. I'm sorry, but it is. After we take out Matt Miller next, having him fly away back to England, yep, I guess we don't kill all gang leaders anymore, our last target is Killbane, who challenges us to a wrestling match at the legendary wrestling event, Murder Brawl. We also get to help Angel regain his mask and his confidence, and he would help us defeat Killbane in a grueling, bloody, violent wrestling match. However, embarrassed by his loss, he decides to burn Steelport to the ground by causing a huge gang war between the Luchadors and Stag, while trying to escape the city. Meanwhile, Kia, this lady from SAG who also doesn't do anything, kidnapped Shaundi, yet again, but also Kiki and Burt Reynolds. Oh yeah! Did I forget to mention that Burt fucking Reynolds is the mayor of Steelport? Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, look, the plot might be shit, but I just love the randomness this game possesses. Oh, God. For the most part, anyways. Anyways, now we have an option to choose what to do next. Save Shaundi or kill Killbane. Now, the entire game has this option where you can choose the outcome of a mission but they don't really amount to anything besides just unlocking new items. Stuff like new costumes, vehicles, weapons, discounts for stores, or extra respect or cash. This mission is the only mission in the game in which the choices affect the outcome of the story. True, you get different cutscenes in some missions, but the story remains the same. Anyways, if you choose to stop Killbane from leaving, Shawnee dies, which causes the statue of whoever this guy is to explode. You get an extra mission in which Stag delivers an all-out assault on the city, and you shut that shit down and finish off Stag for good. Oh, and you created a city-state and put in Pierce as mayor. However, if you save Shawnee again, plus stopping the landmark from being destroyed, you are on the planet Mars and must stop Killbane from destroying Earth. Okay. Fine, whatever. But you found out that they're only filming a movie and the credits roll. What is this game, bro? I'm super split into this story, man. I mean, I do appreciate the creative missions and the wackiness in the game for sure, but damn it, they also had to make a story that's half-assed and felt rushed. Honestly, this is how I would have worked the story out in one or two ways. One way is this. You have 3 gangs controlling Steelport, right? Well, even though they're working together, that still doesn't mean we can't keep the old formula as before. 3 gangs, taking one of them out at a time, have a cutscene with all 3 gangs together in the room plotting a way to get rid of the Saints. We then decide to take out one of the gangs first. For example, the Deckers. After we stop them and kill Matt Miller, we get a cutscene with Killbane and Philippe talking about how much of a wasted space Matt Miller was and he contributed nothing to the group. You know, add in that little tension. Then we decide to take out the Luchadors and then kill Killbane, leaving Philippe Loren as the final boss. But again, it doesn't have to be Philippe, it can also be Matt and Killbane. You know, keep the freedom going. Give us a choice to take out whatever gang we wanted. Or we can take out all 3 gangs all at once in the final battle to claim Steelport. One boss being Matt, the next being Killbane, and the last being Philippe. If you're going to do a one-way linear story, do it like this. Another thing is the build-up for Stag. Give us a history about Cyrus Temple and how Stag was created. Give us at least a sneak preview of what to expect of Stag, kind of like with Ultor and SR2. Do something like that. But instead, we got a half-baked story that was completely rushed and, unfortunately, didn't last long either, as it only took me 12 to 15 hours to beat the entire game. And that was when I played the game when it first came out. Granted, this could just be me speedrunning through it since I played it like a million times, but still, I felt absolutely disappointed with the story. I wanted the story to be good, I really did. It had some cool ideas, but they were poorly executed. And experiencing this again really hurts my soul. Now, is there at least more positive things I can say about Saints Row the Third? Well, yeah, there are. I do think the customization for this game is still strong as ever, although the absence of layered clothing hurts like hell. It's so fun to mix and match your character with outfits or even create any character you want, whether it be you or your favorite cartoon/video game character, or hell, even another real-life person. Say hello to Darby Allin, everyone. Car customization is still cool, and weapon customization is a neat idea, but probably would have been ironed out a bit more instead of just leveling up the weapon. Upgrades are a great idea on paper, but it also tends to be a bit more lenient with some of them, like making you an invincible god being immune to everything around you like bullets, fires, explosions, etc. Granted, you do have to be at a very high level to get them, but still, it completely breaks the game a bit with these upgrades. Co-op is back and it's still fun, but they also got rid of competitive multiplayer. It's sad, sure, but I didn't really quite mind it all that much. I do hope they bring the feature back in the Saints Row reboot or a future game though, that would be cool. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that'll probably think I'm coming off bashing on this game like everyone else is, but the thing is though, I don't hate Saints Row the Third. Quite the contrary, Saints Row the Third is still a good game. There are things I do like about the game that I still have a reason to keep on playing. But then we have the things I don't like that truly holds the game back from being the best game in the series. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying shit like Saints Row the Third ruined the whole series or any of that crap, because in a way it's not. Saints Row the Third wanted to do its own thing and it did succeed for the most part. I do think that Saints Row the Third is a good game on its own terms, but if I do have to be honest, compared to 2, this game doesn't even come close to it. Especially since it didn't really wrap up any loose ends since SR2. We get nothing about Dexter Troy at all. Dex is, well, who knows what will happen to him. And Troy is, I don't know, hanging out with Side Talk NYC or something.
He's got like that back fat. I don't know if it's the back fat or it's like a diaper thing. He's got this big ass.
So this is where I'm caught in the middle of a crossroads with SR3. There are things I liked about the game, and then there are things that I don't like. The gameplay, customization, co-op, and the creativity is still present. We also do have some wide variety of things to do in Steelport as well. But I'm gonna be real, trying to 100% complete this game is a hassle, and this is coming from someone who has played this game for over a decade. There's also the lackluster story and a not so fun city to explore that ruins the game for me. If you don't care about those things and just want a fun, goofy open world game in which you can wipe out a gang with an airstrike dressed as a gimp or a furry, then yeah, get the third. It's still a good game, I had fun with it. And I'm sure if you look past some of its faults too, you can still have a ton of fun with the game. It's cheap on PC, but make sure you buy the full package as it comes with all the DLC in the game. Because if you buy the base game alone and try to buy all the DLC separately, well, hope your wallet's good enough, man. The DLC stuff is, well, stupid. And not for the reason the game wants you to think. Mostly a bunch of cosmetics, weapons, and vehicles. We do have like 3 story-based DLC missions, but they're so boring and end so quickly you question why they were even made to begin with. Another way to experience SR3 is by playing the remaster on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It's mostly the same games, just with better graphics, but nothing too out of the ordinary. It runs fine for me for PC. I think I only had 1 or 2 crashes, but that's about it. Can't say the same for the PS4 or PS5 version though. While the game does run well at 60 FPS, there's also this. Jesus, what the hell happened to Cyrus? This is like some GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition shit we're dealing here with, people. Also, there's just one thing that completely irks me. It's this little piece of weird information that I found while scripting this video. Seasoned Saints players may even find their storylines takes on a new arc, resulting in never-seen-before missions.
So that was a fucking lie.
I have played this remaster 4 times, and not once have I ever seen these never-before-seen missions. I think this was just a marketing tactic for Deep Silver since, you know, they can't market their games for shit. Regardless what version you get the game on, the base version, remaster, hell, even the Switch version, you are getting a fun game from start to finish, and if you do want to get into the series but don't or can't play SR1 and 2, then yeah, go pick this game up. As much as I don't like Steelport all that much, I still love going around and blowing stuff up around the city. I love the wackiness of the game. Going around and driving a human cannonball vehicle, shooting at pets while listening to death metal music is the most fucking hardcore shit ever, man! Oh yeah, the music for this game. It's fine for what it is. It's nowhere near as good as Saints Row 2 soundtrack, but it does have some good songs and radio stations. Adult Swim got their own station in this game, which is pretty damn funny, but also makes the game more badass in a way. The game still rewards you for playing the game, and it's so damn cool. I remember having fond memories of this game way back in high school, and I can't lie and say that I did have some form of fun with the game. But there were moments where I did feel a little bit let down at this game, even after 10 years of playing it. I can say that if you're expecting this game to be like Saints Row 2, then enter this game with caution, because this game really doesn't have that many connections with it. This change of tone might not suit everyone's cup of tea, and that's perfectly understandable. I can only recommend this game for people who haven't played SR1 and 2, since really this game has little connections with those games and feel sort of a soft reboot of the franchise, if you will. Again, before the actual reboot anyway. Now, how exactly did Volition handle this situation? What do they do with the next game to liven things up? Do they continue on with the silliness of Saints Row the Third? Or did they open up and head back to the Saints Row 2 direction? Well, the result will be surprising, to say the least, which is why the next time we meet, we're going to end this Saints story once and for all when we talk about Saints Row 4. Until then, always remember that there is a saint in all of us. Hey, thanks for watching part 3 of my Saints Row retrospective. We're almost caught up with the entire series up until the release of the Saints Row reboot, and well, the fact that we're almost done for now is completely scary to me, but you know what, at the end of the day, I'm very happy that these videos are finally being produced and made after so long. I've been wanting to do this for years, and now it's happening. But with that said, though, I do want to take a little bit of a break from Saints Row, because as much as I love the series and as much as I love doing this retrospective, these videos do take a long time for me to make, so I figured, you know, take a little bit of a break, review something else, something short, sweet, simple, nothing too long, hopefully. But then right after that, we're going to head straight back into the Saints Row retrospective and finally be caught up with it. But thanks for watching my video on Saints Row 3. If you want to watch my video on Saints Row 1 and 2, you can do that as well. Or if you want to watch another random BS video that I made as well, you can do that as well. With that said, thanks for watching this video, and lastly, have a nice day.